What if a single line of poetry could mean three different things at once? Love, God, or your own identity? And the strangest part? All of them could be true. That was the genius of Mirza Ghalib. Most poetry gives you emotions. Ghalib, he gives you questions, uncomfortable ones, unfinished ones, the kind that follow you into silence. His poetry doesn't sit quietly on a page. It moves, it shifts, it evolves. You read it once, and it feels simple. You read it again, and suddenly it feels deeper. And then one day, it feels like it's talking about you. That's the mystery. Even after 200 years, people still don't fully understand him. So, what makes his poetry so complex, yet so deeply relatable? Why does it feel like he understands thoughts? We can't even explain ourselves. Let's step into his world. Pain that created depth. To understand Ghalib, you have to understand his pain. Mirza Ghalib didn't just write about loss. He carried it. He lost his father at a young age, faced constant financial struggles, lived in a time of political collapse. And then, the deepest wound of all, he lost all his children, every single one. Now stop for a second. Imagine living with that silence. A house once filled with hope, now filled with absence. That kind of pain doesn't leave you. It changes how you see everything. Life stops being clear. It becomes uncertain, fragile, almost unreal, and that's exactly what we see in his poetry. Not clarity, but complexity. Not answers, but emotional depth that refuses to be simplified, because some pain is too deep for simple words. Love, but never simple. Ghalib is often called a poet of love. But his love is not easy, not perfect, not fulfilled. It's restless, incomplete, always searching. Take this famous couplet. Hazaron khwahishan aisi ke har khwahish pe dam nikle. Thousands of desires, each one worth dying for. At first, it sounds romantic, but think again. Is it really about love? Or is it about desire itself? The endless wanting, the never-ending hunger, one wish fulfilled, and 10 more appear. This is not romance. This is the human condition. And that's where Ghalib becomes powerful. He uses love to talk about something much deeper. Because sometimes what we call love is actually longing. And longing never ends. But here's where things take a strange turn. What if the beloved in his poetry isn't even human? Existential thought, a mind ahead of time. Long before modern philosophy, before people talked about existential crises, Ghalib was already asking the same questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? And instead of giving answers, he sits inside the confusion. That's rare. Most people want certainty. Ghalib embraces uncertainty. In many ways, his poetry reflects ideas similar to existentialism, the belief that life has no fixed meaning, that meaning is something we create, or maybe never fully find. And that's uncomfortable, because it means there's no clear path, no guaranteed answers, just questions, endless questions. And that's exactly what Ghalib gives us. Paradox, the heart of his genius. Here's what makes Ghalib truly unique. He writes in paradoxes, two opposite ideas existing together, hope and despair, faith and doubt, love and pain at the same time. In his world, nothing is simple. Everything is layered. For example, he can express deep love while also showing its impossibility. He can talk about faith while questioning it in the same breath. And instead of choosing one side, he holds both. That's real life, because real emotions are messy, confusing, contradictory, and Ghalib doesn't fix that. He reflects it. But wait, if his poetry is so complex, why do people still connect with it so deeply? Why doesn't it feel distant or outdated? Because Ghalib understood something timeless. The human mind doesn't change. Spiritual ambiguity between faith and doubt. Now, this is where things get bold. Ghalib didn't blindly follow faith. He questioned it, not to reject it, but to understand it. In his poetry, God is present, but not always clear, sometimes close, sometimes distant, sometimes comforting, sometimes confusing. And that creates something powerful, spiritual ambiguity. He doesn't say, "This is the truth." He says, "This is the struggle." That's something deeply human, because many people feel faith, but also doubt. They believe, but they question, and Ghalib gives space to both, without judgment. Simple words, infinite meanings. Here's the real magic. Ghalib's words are simple, but their meaning, infinite. Take this. Dil hi to hai na sango kisht. It's just a heart, not stone or brick. Simple line. But what does it mean? It could mean vulnerability, emotional pain, the fragility of being human, or even a quiet defense of feeling too much. And here's the interesting part. You don't fully understand it at once. You grow into it at different stages of life. It reveals different meanings. That's not accidental. That's genius. And just when you think you finally understood him, his words change again. Why Ghalib still feels modern. Now let's bring this to today. We live in a world of noise, endless scrolling, constant distraction, overthinking. People today are more connected than ever, and yet feel more lost than ever, searching for meaning, searching for identity, searching for something real. And that's exactly where Ghalib fits, because he doesn't offer quick answers. He offers reflection. Instead of telling you what life is, he asks you to think about it, and in a world full of noise, that silence becomes powerful. The reader completes the poem. Here's something most people don't realize. Ghalib's poetry is incomplete, not because it's unfinished, but because you complete it. Your experiences, your emotions, your struggles, they shape what the poem means. Two people can read the same line and feel completely different things, and both can be right. That's rare, because most art tells you what to feel. Ghalib lets you decide. Here's the deeper truth. Ghalib's poetry is not about answers. It's about awareness. Awareness of your thoughts, your doubts, your desires. He doesn't simplify life. He reflects its complexity. And in doing that, he does something powerful. He makes you aware of yourself. So what makes Mirza Ghalib timeless? It's not just his words, it's his honesty. He didn't pretend life was simple. He didn't hide confusion. He embraced it, the contradictions, the paradoxes, the uncertainty. And in doing that, he gave us something rare. Permission. Permission to question, to doubt, to feel deeply, and to accept that not everything needs to be understood. So the next time you read Ghalib, don't rush it. Don't try to solve it. Sit with it. Let it confuse you. Let it challenge you. Because sometimes the most powerful poetry is the one that leaves you thinking. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Do you think life needs clear answers? Or is it okay to live in uncertainty? And if you want more deep, thought-provoking content like this, stay tuned. Because sometimes the deepest truths are hidden in the most complex words.